Given the chance, beauty will ruin you. Given the chance, love will too. Given the chance, the highs of highs will force the rear of your head beneath their heel into the lowest of lows will go, and you'll question if maybe that's why you keep going back. The love lost will ruin you, in the same way that finding it does too. The friends behind will ruin you, in the same way the family ahead will too. The prettiest places you'll ever see and the prettiest places there are to see will all push you away to chase them or others, and they will all, as if by design, ruin you. The miles on the road will ruin you. The city life will ruin you. The country life will ruin you. The islands and the mountains and the valleys and the oceans and the forests and the miles and miles and miles of roads in between all lie in wait for your pleasure and your ruin. Given the chance, beauty will ruin you. Seemingly, atop the quiet list of agreed-upon beauty, Paris, France seems to advertise itself to hopeful romantics in whispers of their names from across European borders and even oceans in separation. It gently coaxes them in with beauty, a gun to their back and the forced exclamation of awe and appreciation. All too often, it unties their willfully bound hands to offer over the gun with a mutual acceptation that the romance imagined is beyond the bandwidth of the lovely city, and lovely is all it is. Many take the gun to the temple. Paris ruins them. There's a difference, though, in Paris syndrome and the all too adequate human experience of high expectations being met to their limit and rushed with waves far, far beyond. That's the worst of the spectrum, when beauty supersedes your acknowledgement of it and you can't recover. It's not that the awe breaks your pride, it's that when it does, you appreciate it too much for it not to be a regular experience. It'll rip your calm hands across the dealer's table and throw you out of the plane through the atmosphere layered with euphoria and adrenaline, and just when you can take it all in, it'll take it all away. It'll transform you to all you'll never have again, only for the sake of having had it before, and the price too. It'll tell you there's an art to being a junkie who'll never get his fix, and that you should long for it quietly and hopefully with an ever-distant light of a relapse and recovery in sight, both that you'll never touch. It'll suspend you between the two. It'll make an idealist out of you, only to wound you and forbid you from ever becoming a sinner. It'll show you heaven on earth and press your very soul into all of it, all to ruin you. Last summer ruined me. The 3 months before the rest of my life were all I needed and all I could want, and by our own mutual design, they ruined me. They ruined me because I let them. They ruined me because I wanted them to. I got money and I spent it. I got a car and I drove it. I got bitter and I got over it. Last summer ruined me. The very first night was welcomed in with a dinner party that lasted until sunrise, where we all swore it wouldn't be the last, and it was. Then that evening, I saw Zach Bryan's show before driving through the night for a film camera in Tennessee, and in the morning, through the sunrise, creeping my way back down to Atlanta for a flight to Las Vegas that night and a drive to Moab after landing. A week in Utah with my family and friends led to a calm handful of days back in Atlanta before taking me out to Maui and eventually Oahu to live in Hawaii for 6 weeks and serve in various ministries there. I made all too many lifelong friends there, and out of those, there's quite a few I'd followed to the end of the earth. In a teary exit from Oahu, my friend Job and I flew to LAX to meet our friends Sophia and Mina before driving down to San Diego to have dinner with my family and pick up our friend Paul that night. Then the drives from San Diego back to LA to Yosemite to Big Sur to San Francisco, where we dropped off Paul and stayed 2 nights at Mina's house. From there, we drove through the night to the Redwoods to Cannon Beach to Haystack Rock to Portland to Olympic to Seattle. In Seattle, on a whim, our new friend Garrett joined us, and we continued to Glacier, to Yellowstone, to Jackson Hole for 2 nights, and on to Salt Lake City for 2 nights. In Salt Lake City, we stayed with our friends that felt like family in a household that'll forever leave an impression on us, all before driving to Denver to drop off Mina, before a 4-day, 4,000-mile stretch to Chicago, onto Maine, onto Boston for lunch with Paul, onto Manhattan for midnight pizza, onto Philly, onto DC, onto Raleigh to drop off Garrett, and finally to Greenville as a home for Job and Sophia, and a place for me to spend the rest of my summer with a pretty girl named Julia. I saw dozens of sleepless driving nights, dozens of thousands of miles traveled, dozens of friends become family, and more cities and national parks than I can count. I soaked up the beauty and the poetry and every ounce of art all in it. Last summer ruined me, and I'd give anything to be ruined again. Because last summer, I wrote a memoir to my latest nights and wrote a poem to reminisce. I sang a song about the 5th of May and heard it on the 6th. I cluttered clarity with empty frames and marked them off a list to let the summer propagate from night's affecting bliss. I got sick in the city and worse in the desert. I missed a drive for the worse and made a flight for the better. I parsed pain from the progress and healing from hurt. I warmed my back with the cold and cooled my hands with a burn. I saw oceans from mountains and mountains from oceans. I saw boats from the bay and chased boar from the open. I based what's here on what's gone for their separate emotions. I wore my heart on my sleeve and taped my sleeve in a poem. I imagined bitterness, the density of butter in my chest. I noticed it melt softly in the sun as it set. I saw my pictures, portraits painted, and their pain in the rest. I romanticized running. I flew east to drive west. I lost friends and made family. I bought pins and stationery. I felt the weight that I lost become weight I could carry. I counted slight gain as a loss all but fairly and dug up an old roll of film I buried. I found that strangers are brothers when you sit to break bread. Found I've taken for granted the firm of my bed. Found it's better put softly if critiques it all said, and kept battles I fought with myself in my head. I read a note from a father and read a letter to a friend. I ended poems I can't start and started books I can't end. I criticized the mainstream and followed the trends. I spent a week with my siblings and made family with friends. I felt mist on a cliff and watched setting suns. I climbed with a child who convinced me to jump. I scheduled with fingers, all to count sums. I numbered stars on the grass and named the prettiest one. I left vices to enjoy them and quit not to stop. Rebuilt bridges I burned and burned ones I had not. Bet on volatile odds and made back what I lost. I sat in empty red valleys and I talked to God. I saw bowing bones broken and hurting hearts healed. I sat with dozens of preachers and shared dozens of meals. I went through 2 balding tires and 1 vacuum seal. I felt the weight of an island beneath towing me. I loved the sun when it set and the moon when it rose. I healed at my foot and I tore up my nose. I craved 10,000 miles, the whole thing I drove. I thought about love and I sang about snow. I prayed in the dark, felt the rain in a park, and watched delicate elegance feel the beat of my heart. I went from happy to end to too scared to start, but found peace in the static and love in the art. I felt the beach on my back and my skin weathered tan. I shared a musical moment with a kind, loving man. I took the parkway up north in my shoes from the sand. I watched my sun slip away, kept the warmth in my hand. I slept on cold asphalt and lost 2 left shoes. I sprayed canvas black while humming the blues. I dug through a mind, I'll scratch through the skewed and sang mine again through the end of the tune. I willfully lost to hopefully gain. I planned 3 weeks more through Europe on trains. I woke up too early to stay up too late, to spend the time well and keep time itself safe. I stopped wishing for signs, enjoyed the slow pass of time, wrote the last of an address and the first poem that rhymed. I drove my better mornings for the best of my nights, and bled thoughts from the summer as light bled from the sky.
Can't believe September's already over. Looked for stars and I found a supernova. Praying to God that I can hold her close, 'cause I know she's worried about the snow. She said, darling, should I bring a coat? She's not ready for the air to get colder, 'cause she's so used to living on the beach down in Florida. Wanna take her to the mountains, we can take my friend's Toyota. But the heat don't work, so when the air gets colder, I can hold it up. I can hold it up. Told me she's never been in love before. Darling, I could treat you right, take you to the shore. Every time you cross my mind, I just want you more. Sitting in the grass, looking at the tower, thinking about her eyes every single hour. She's my wildflower. When the seasons change, can I still hold your hand? When we get rain, can I teach you how to dance? It's not even November, yeah, she's worried about December. If I can have her in my arms, she won't worry about the winter. Praying to God that I can hold her close, 'cause I know she's worried about the snow. She said, darling, should I bring a coat? She's not ready for the air to get colder, 'cause she's so used to living on the beach down in Florida. Wanna take her to the mountains, we can take my friend's Toyota. But the heat don't work, so when the air gets colder, she's not ready for the air to get colder, 'cause she's so used to living on the beach down in Florida. Wanna take her to the mountains, we can take my friend's Toyota. But the heat don't work, so when the air gets colder, I can hold it up. 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 Unless you let me go home. Unless you let me go home. Unless you let me go.
Like, okay.